Hey, Sugar Beastie here. Want to deal with a topic dealing with homeschooling. A lot of people have gotten flack. I know I've gotten flack. I homeschool all three of my kids. Me and Frat Preacher Man, we do so. 3 different grade levels. One just graduated. Woohoo! The other one is becoming a senior, and the other one is becoming a sophomore in high school. But I just wanted to give some encouragement to those because there's so many pluses to homeschooling. And I know Fat Preacher Man will help me out dealing with that. One, of course, is time constraints. Doesn't matter if it's snowing outside, hard rain, doesn't matter what the temperature is, what time of day it is. I can be able to set a certain amount of time around my schedule to help my kids. One maybe, let's say one is behind in math or one is behind in English or whatever the subject is. I can custom tailor that particular program to be able to fit their needs and to be able to help them grow and do whatever they need to do. Another good thing with homeschooling too is we decided to change our program to do it towards the evening. The evening really helped us out because with appointments and just other things that we had to do in our ministry and everything that we were doing, it really kind of helped us out. The day was opened up. The children were more vocal, and their mind was more open and vibrant to be able to receive better and to memorize better in the evening, which I really, really liked and really could appreciate, because who wants to deal with a teenager who is barely listening, who attention span is like this, but in the evening we noticed that they were more attentive. So that's how we did it. We taught them in the evening. We went over the schoolwork, and we got the kids involved too. We got my older one involved in helping to check the schoolwork, because also this brought back things in memory from her from the grades in past, and it also got her involved with her brother and her sister's schoolwork. So it really was an overall thing. What do you think?
Well, the only cautions that I have, I'm glad that we did it. But the only cautions that I have is be mindful of your strengths and your weaknesses and make sure that you find something you can work with. Like we ended up using the curriculum from Alpha and Omega, which is a Christian-based curriculum, and it really helped keep us on track. They have 5 core subjects, and then they have electives that you can add to it.
Just like you would in school.
Right.
Electives.
But, one of the core is Bible. So if you're not into Christianity or teaching the Bible, then you don't have to get it, but they do sell a 5-pack course set. And what we did, what I decided to do to save us a little bit of money, since we had 3 kids 2 years apart coming after each other, is instead of using the workbooks and having them fill it out, I had my eldest daughter, Laura, who just finished. She had a little notebook section, and she would fill it out on paper like you would in school.
Right.
Not able to write in the workbook. So then when she was done with it the next year, her sister was able to use it. And then eventually my son will be able to use it also. Because most of the stuff is not going to change. Some modern history might be added as far as different, like when we get a new president or things like that. But as far as mathematics doesn't change.
Basic science things haven't changed.
Language doesn't change. I was glad to see the science did include the fact that they no longer count Pluto as a planet.
Right.
Well,
so they had updates in their books and so forth, which was good.
But, and again, you can find different companies out there besides them who provide materials. But I like them because the way that it's set up, it has 10 workbooks for the course of the year, however fast you decide to go through them. And the workbooks themselves, they have usually 3 self-tests, which are like waypoints through the book. And at each waypoint, you should have a certain amount of knowledge, and the book itself, you can refer back to it. So you have like in-book tests, and that's a good way for the child to get used to looking for information. And it allows you as a parent, when you sit down and go over it with them, to know it should have come from this section, because you're taking self-test 1, so all the information should be in section 1.
Right. It allows them to not just go on without, like they do in the regular school system, unfortunately, where kids get left behind, to make sure you understand what it is that the kid is being taught and at their pace, so you can go back before you take the overall test to pass that one particular book to move on. It's all interconnected.
Right, and now lower level stuff, again, they have a lot of information in there. So if you're not really strong in language or you're not really strong in math, lower level stuff, as long as you follow along with what they're showing, you can pretty much get it. But as you get into higher level stuff, like I thank God that I have Nicole to help me with the language stuff, because that's not my strong suit. I'm okay at speaking, but as far as it comes to writing and grammatical rules and the rules of the English language in general, not a fan. Don't like them. I think they're BS. I think that whoever came up with this stuff just was throwing darts at a dartboard and said, well, we'll make this rule count and we'll make it not count
I feel
here.
that way about math, but still.
No, math is set. It's logical, and as long as you learn the rules, they don't change.
Yes,
they don't bend.
True.
I before E and except after C, or if it sounds like duty and way, it doesn't make any sense. And it's because English is an amalgamation of all these different languages. You have French, you have English, you have Spanish, Latin, German. So all these words blending together have different spellings and the different combinations of letters.
Just like with math, it's memorization, and it's just a different way of dealing with memorization.
Yeah, but anyway, the whole point was that if you're not strong in the upper levels, then you may either want to consider using a tutor, or at some point, keeping in your mind, you know what, I've taken them as far as I can. I may need to be saving or preparing to put them in.
Especially when you get to higher maths, like calculus or certain levels of science and so forth. The key is to be able to help the student as much as possible be able to take whatever test they will need to be able to take, whether they're going to go to school eventually or take the GED or whatever it is. Because these GED tests that I thought were they're going to be basic really have gotten very intricate. So you really want to make sure you prepare them as much as possible. And like with our kids that we learned, we did SAT prep classes with them. We did writing workshops with them, and we did also what else? We incorporated the GED type of workshop in there with them too, because you want to give them the most information that you can give them heading out there. I know with our oldest one, a lot of I don't know about certain school systems, but I know for Maryland, at least with our county, in the 12th grade, you only need English and like one or two other electives. But we gave her a full course load because, again, we wanted this to be on her transcript. We wanted her to be able to have things to reference by. We thought it was good for her to have certain things like business, make sure she had all foreign languages and all these things to help prepare her as much as possible, not to overwhelm her. Because, again, you have to make sure this is tailored to your child's strong suits. You don't, you want to be careful with that. You don't want to overwhelm them. But we wanted to make sure she had the best head start as much as possible. And you can find out through whatever county or state or whatever.
Well, and that's something that's really important, is that whatever your school locality allows or requires, it can be very different. Some may only allow you to homeschool to a certain grade. Some may require, like ours is Prince George's County within Maryland, within the USA. So Prince George's County, our school district, requires that you check in twice a year with the homeschooling coordinator for the county, and you present how your students or your children are doing. And you give updates, and they give feedback and things like that, and you have to prepare things to turn in and show some of their work. So if you're considering this, if you haven't started, it's different. Not talking about like kindergarten or pre-K. I believe every parent should be involved with their child at that point. But if you're considering about doing this long term and really investing some of their elementary or high school years with you as education, then you really need to talk or look up or find out information via the web or via the local school district. And a lot of times they even have support groups. Right.
And it's very, and it may not be for everybody. People may want to homeschool for a few years or whatever. But again, for us, it just was, it was cost effective, because although the programs can be expensive, you have backup programs and all that can get to where it's really expensive. But overall, when you consider nowadays, a lot of the schools want you to wear uniforms, and there's fees, and even private school, it's a cheaper alternative. And again, it's not for every parent. If you're impatient, if you are not good at sitting down and being able to communicate with your kids or whatever, maybe you want to look into a homeschooling program that you can pay somebody, but they can get very expensive. So, it's not for everybody. A lot of people, one of the concerns people had, especially early on, was their socialization. And it was a concern for us, but it wasn't an overall concern, because I think that's part of the problem now today in schools, socialization. It is important for children, but you got so many teachers, unfortunately, because the classroom size has gotten so large to where there's too much socialization going on and very little learning. Here the child is in class for 40 minutes or 45 minutes tops, and the teacher for the first 15 minutes has to calm down the class because you got class clowns and all these security issues now that are happening in class. How much learning does my child are they really receiving, especially if, for example, math isn't their strongest suit and they're taking trigonometry or something like that? So these are just key things to consider in dealing with your child. And with socialization, we want to make sure too in that they stay connected. There's support groups, churches, other things. Look at people in your community, things that are going on in your community that will really help them to make sure that they're practicing their socialization skills as well. They're not, you see what I'm saying? And because that is important, but overall their education was priority concerning this, because I don't care how much socialization if you can't spell your name, if you can't, balance a checkbook or any of these things, you're going to run into some problems.
Very true. And again, one concern that we had, that I've seen come up, is like Nicole mentioned, Shugabishi mentioned, we have 3 kids, mm-hmm. and they're all on different grade levels. So it came the issue of how are you able to invest the time in each child to make sure that they're each getting what they need. So, mm-hmm. Thank God that we were able to work together, especially in the high school years, to support each other and support the children. Because it would be very difficult for one person to try to be there for all 3, to grade all the schoolwork, to go over anything, to mentor, to tutor, and to hold the child accountable. Because a lot of this, one of my goals as a parent and as a teacher is to make sure that they're becoming independent, mm-hmm. learning independent, learning the necessity and the importance, the responsibility of holding yourself accountable, mm-hmm. That I need to learn this, and there are real world applications that I need to be ready for with math, with language, with science. There's real reasons to learn these things, and it's not just to get it done. It's because there is something that I can and should be doing with this to be a productive member of society, of my family, of the world around me. Especially one of the things that always keeps coming up with us, that with my kids, is math. Well, when am I going to use this? Why do I need to know how to do that? So it's really important, and that's why, again, I like this curriculum, because it gives you not only the number problems and the functions, but the word problems. They try to gear them towards things that might actually be happening in life. For example, you're out camping and you lose your tent pole and you need to go buy a new one, but you don't know what size it was. So the word problem is based upon how do you figure out what size it was, and that's just a brief example, but
and I think it helped too in teaching, because not everybody can teach, not because of their patience. I think our education level helped as well, because of just the things we already knew, and it was kind of just going back to review a little bit real quick with us, whether it was Spanish or math or whatever.
Well, even some of the things like in math, everybody says or thinks I'm good at math, but I'm at a basic level. I'm good at the rules.
He's humble.
So, but when I went back with my eldest, and now I'm going back through, there's things that I didn't even get before, that since I've had to go through the books again, that I'm like, oh, that's what that was about. Yeah. Now I understand that. And then there's some things that I didn't get then and I still don't get now. So I just muddle through with my kids, and we do the best, look up things on the net and look in the book and look in the book and look in the book and look at the answers and the examples and do our best to try to figure out how did they come to that answer. So again, not just getting the answer, but how do you get to the answer? Because that's the key. Because if you can figure out how they got the answer, then you can reproduce it in any problem. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure this is long enough. So if you have any questions, any comments if you've homeschooled, or if you want more information. If you, like I said, you got any questions, then you can email us. You can hit us up in the comments below, or hit us up on Facebook. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day. Jesus bless you.
And good teaching.